So that is why what was happening there, so that is why the people were dependent on the rainfall for their irrigation. Subsistence farming. It is a practice of growing crops only for one's own use without any surplus for trade. So there was also very high incidence of subsistence farming, means they were not selling it in the market, as there were not much irrigation, there was not much development in agriculture, so it was only a subsistence kind of farming. Outdated technology. There was obsolete technology in agriculture. There was no harvesting machines, there was no improvement in the technology of production. Okay, so conflicts between tenants and landlords. Farmers were often a part of a critical contract that bound them to their landlords. Landlords used to extract huge amount of interest from the farmers and deprive them from their necessities. So there was conflict between the tenants and the landlords each and every time, and the farmers were the one who lied in between, and they were bound to listen to the landlords, and the landlords extracted huge amount of interest from the farmers and deprived them of the basic necessities. Okay, so now what were the policies that were taken for the growth of the agriculture? So the drawbacks were because of low productivity, disguised unemployment, high dependency on rainfall. Subsistence farming means the output was not done for the selling in the market but for their own. So it was subsistence kind of farming was followed. First reason may be not much amount of land was available. Moreover, that they did not have the basic requirements for agriculture which they would have used for more production that they could sell in the market. So that is why they use subsistence farming. Outdated technology, conflict between tenants and landlords. Now, what were the policies for growth of agriculture? So the very first policy was land reform. Land reform primarily refers to the change in ownership of landholdings. Now, it was introduced by various underdeveloped and developed countries for attaining rational land distribution. Okay, there was a great need for land reforms in countries like India where majority of its population still depends on agriculture. So land reforms were needed to achieve the objective of equity in agriculture. So what was the land reform? The land reform was adopted just to which means refers to change in ownership of landholdings. Means during the earlier times what was happening, one person used to have acres and acres of land. Means it was a kind of corruption that people had acres and acres of land under their name, and those who did not have land, they were landless. Even if they have a piece of land, they can work on it, and if they don't have, they can't. So to avoid this, to have rational and equal distribution of land reforms were brought about so that the persons who had excess of land under their name, the land would be distributed among the landless laborers. And this land reform was brought about in India. Next was abolition of intermediaries. Indian government took various steps to abolish intermediaries and to make tillers owners of the soil, means to abolish zamindari system, and the tillers were made the owners of the soil. The idea behind this step was that ownership of land would give incentive to the actual tillers to make improvements. Abolition of intermediaries brought 200 lakh tenants into direct contact with government. The ownership rights granted tenants gave them incentive to increase output, and this contributed to growth in agriculture. So, Indian government took various steps to abolish zamindari system and made the tillers of the soil the owners. Why? This is because if the tillers of the soil become the owners of the soil, they will have some incentive to improve the soil, to improve the agriculture production. Now, abolition of the intermediaries brought the tenants in direct contact with the government. Ownership rights granted to the tenants gave them the incentive to increase output, and this contributed to growth in agriculture. Now, as the land was given to the tillers, this gave them an incentive, an energy to increase the output and contribute to the growth of agriculture, which the zamindars did not used to do. They just used to collect the lagan from the tillers, but they did not make any kind of improvement. in the soil. So that is why the tillers were made the owners, so that they can make improvements in the soil and increase the output. And land reform was there, where the land was distributed among the landless, so that there was rational and equal distribution. So it was just a change in ownership from the previous owners to the new landless. Okay. Now, however, the goal, now this part we will be doing in the next video. Okay.